Good morning to all of you. When I came here this morning, I was actually a bit surprised because when my people said, we have approved that you'll go and do part of the opening of this conference, but, just say a few general things about what Vodafone is doing in this space and so on. And since we speak regularly about it, I didn't really prepare myself. I have to apologize for that, Dasra. So in the car, I opened the papers, the file, and I saw actually that the first word I saw was philanthropy. And philanthropy is, in my view, not what we do. So suddenly my whole picture changed, and using our beautiful technology, I Googled immediately in the dictionary, what is actually philanthropy? And of course, Google is a good search machine, so it comes up with a few options. And the first one was, which made me feel very comfortable, it was the effort or inclination to increase the well-being of humankind as by charitable aid or donations. Now that sounds kind of okay, isn't it? But the second one was a bit more warning, a bit more alerting. It said altruistic concern for human welfare and advancement usually manifested by donations of money, property, or work. Now, altruistic in itself is a word that is a difficult word, so I decided to also look at the word altruistic. And the word altruistic, the dictionary said, meant unselfish concern for or devoted to the welfare of others. Now, this is exactly where my dilemma is. As a company, can you ever be really, as a company, altruistic? I personally think that it's very difficult for a company to be pure altruistic. And I have always connected the word philanthropy with individuals. And I think this is one of the dilemmas that companies have, although it is in India a bit more blurry. Because if you're a listed company, and Vodafone is a listed company, and Vodafone is not what you in India would call a promoter-driven company. It doesn't have any big shareholder. It is completely in public hands, institutions, and so on. There is not a promoter. Meaning that if Vodafone would decide to do philanthropy, charitable donations, why would I do that on behalf of my shareholders? My shareholders will be extremely diverse. They will be Muslims, Christians, whatever. Now, if I choose causes for donations, I might actually upset part of my shareholders while others might be pleased, or the other way around. So I think for a listed company, the issue is that you should, in my view, stay away from philanthropy. But there is a different side to this coin, which is that you want to be a socially responsible company. And I said it's a bit blurry if you come to India, where there are lots of promoter-driven companies, because a promoter-driven company is in a way a mix between an individual, which can be one person or typically a family, and the speaker before me mentioned a few names, of course, in India of famous institutions that have been also doing lots and lots of very good work from their foundations. But it's really linked to a family name, isn't it? The moment you don't have this promoter anymore, it becomes slightly different. So for Vodafone, and for us in India, we approach it really differently. We, last year and the year before, we wrote up, because telecom companies are relatively young companies, and when I came here 5 years ago, one of the first things I saw is that the company didn't have a mission statement, which I found really funny, because in a way, you need to know what is your reason to be there. Raison d'être, as the French people are saying. Why on heaven are you there anyhow? What drives you if you go to work every day? And so we took time, we built a mission. Part of our mission, after a long debate in the company, was clearly that we said we do not want to be only a company that is there to make profit for its shareholders. Because of course it's not only shareholders, we realize that the concept of stakeholders is well developed these days. But even there, I think you need to define what do you want to do and why do you want to do it. So we put very high in our mission that we want to contribute to society. And not only contribute to society by what is business as usual. You saw the speech given to me to speak about this, not business as usual. Now for us, business as usual is already extremely developmental in nature. I think, and actually I'm not alone here, I side with the World Bank if I say that it is kind of common opinion in the world that mobile technology and the introduction of mobile has been the biggest developmental game changer in the last 10 years in the whole world. So we could kind of say, wow, you know, look, the good things we do, look at the billions of dollars that we invest, we are fine. Our business is a development business in nature. That was not good enough for us because we realized that we work in the whole society. We have customers from every part of the society. And if you as a company want to be sustainable, then you need to be part of that society. And that goes further than just bringing your product or selling your product and making your customers happy. So that's why we decided that we would be very active in CSR. But as I said, for me, CSR, for a company, is something different than philanthropy. Why is that? Because I think in the end, a company always does it for a cause. And the cause is not pure altruistic, to come back to that word. The cause is because in the end, we want to be seen as a company, as a very responsible company, and as part of the society. What do we expect back for that? Is to be accepted as part of that society and probably to get a bit of sympathy from society, which helps us then also to continue to do our business. So it's not pure altruistic, because I think the pure altruistic donations are the donations of people who write the checks and nobody knows it. Maybe not even their family members know it. That's pure altruistic. Businesses are not like that, and I think we are openly admitting that. I think also that the new company law, in a way, from my perspective, is a bit funny. Because I think if you do these things, it should come from the heart. It should not be like a tax. So it will be very interesting to see how that develops in India. But in my view, it would be far better if companies did it because they accept the responsibility and they realize that they need to contribute to society, than driven by a mandatory rule. Now, what did we do? Vodafone started a program, what we call Vodafone Cares, and since focus always helps to drive results, we decided that we would do that around what we call our 3 E's. And the first one is education, the second one is environment, and the third one is empowerment. And of course, if you say, I want to be a socially responsible company, I actually think it starts at home. So the first thing we did, apart from what you would call real CSR, is make sure that in the company, we are seen as a very responsible company. And one of the biggest things we've done the last 4 years, 5 years, is rolling out a huge health and safety program for our employees, where years ago, when we came into the country, we realized that tens of people died every year, just in the course of work. We were building towers, people fell off height, people got electrocuted, people got all kinds of accidents in the work, and there wasn't much, actually, attention for it. So we've changed that. We've reduced the number of casualties. Most casualties that we see in our company now is in traffic. Traffic is really dangerous in this country, and we every year have lots of contractors who work for us or employees that work for us who die in traffic. Very often young people who are moving around on bikes and get hit by trucks or lorries or whatever. But we have done a lot of work, and we have very, very focused on these things in the company. And I think that has given us, which actually was a surprise to me, when we do surveys among staff and say, why do you think Vodafone is a good company to work for? Actually, this comes very high, because they say, oh, we realize this is a company that really cares for its employees, because you work so hard to make sure that we get so safe back to our families. But that's the in-house part. Then if you look outside, we don't have time to go through all the programs, but environment is also very clear. I think, reduction of carbon footprint, making sure that you, in a responsible way, dispose of your waste, etc. Education, very, very important. We also, via the Vodafone Foundation, focus a lot on the empowerment and the education. It's very clear that education, it's shown here in the graphs, but it's very clear that education is more or less the only guaranteed way out of poverty. And so you can't do enough to stimulate education. And then empowerment, we indeed focus mainly on women. You can't say only on women, because of course also if you focus on education, typically the classes will have boys and girls, so you can't say I'm only educating the girls. But the reality is we focus in our programs where we can on women, and that is indeed based on the belief that women are extremely responsible in their behavior towards their families, towards their children, towards their community they live in. And if you can bring that group of people at a higher level, that has a major impact on society. And we also deliberately have gone away from doing good in terms of, even if you have a foundation, there are so many causes in the world where you say we're doing good. We have focused it over time really to projects where we can use our technology, because we think that our technology is a fantastic enabler. And this is not because we want to make money on it, just to make it very clear. This is not because then we can sell more phones or we sell more connections. No, it's the other way around. We are a technology company in the end. We know how to use that technology to facilitate development via applications, via whatever. And we have that knowledge, and we are more than happy to share that, and then hopefully for the better. Last week we got on the GSMA. The GSMA is the Operators Association Worldwide. It's a huge organization because this is, of course, a very big industry. It had its annual conference in Barcelona last week. We, as Vodafone India, got an award there for a developmental project that we did together with the Cherry Blair Foundation. And that's a very good example where in Gujarat, we developed a kind of very simple ERP system for women traders. And it's actually based on USSD technology, flash technology. But once it was introduced and these women started to use that, they had far more control over their spending, control over their bookkeeping, control over their information. And after some time, the results were measured, and income of these women had actually gone up 3 times. So it's a very good example where you use our technology, relatively simple, but for these people who don't walk around with smartphones, but these are very simple, basic phones. But using the technology, you could really make their lives better. That's a good example of what we try to do. So the other thing that I think the whole world has seen changing in the world of NGOs and charity, I think I'm from Europe, back in the 60s, 70s, there was a lot of charity being done, development aid charity being done, actually a bit probably from a bad conscience. It was like, oh, we are moving ahead so fast with the world, we are getting so rich, and then there is this poor part of the world, so we need to do something about it. That went on for probably 20, 30 years, and then a new generation came, and the new generation was asking questions that the old generation had never asked. They didn't have this problem with the bad conscience because they were already born in the rich world, so they thought that was normal. And then they were saying, okay, I worked also in Africa, and I know the discussion there. I'm active in some charities there. They have poured $400 billion into Africa between 1917 and about the end of the 90s, $400 billion. So these people were asking the simple question, so what did we get back for that? And believe me, that is very difficult to answer. It's extremely difficult to answer. And so you saw the trend coming and I think that is what we face, of course, also in India, that the giving is no longer just giving. The altruism is not so altruistic anymore. People are now saying, I'm willing to give, but can we please agree what is the result of that money? So it is output-oriented, and I think probably the Bill Gates Foundation is the best example for that. Willing to spend lots of money, but can we please agree what is the output? Now, I think that is good. In my view, that is good, because that creates sustainability. And I think in the end, all the money that we were talking about that was mentioned this morning is spent much better if we can spend it in a way that creates sustainability. Because it is great to give charitable donations, but it's far better to improve the world by giving money that creates, in the end, a sustainable system. And that's what we try to do in Vodafone. Thank you.